Hey guys, it's Nancy here, and I've had lots of people ask me questions about the air compressor and how to operate it, and so I'm going to attempt to show you everything that I know about it. I'm not an expert by no means. I have learned by trial and error, so let's just try to figure it out together. How's that for you? Okay. This is the 0.0 air compressor, and it came with 3 different guns, which I really like all 3 of them. So I'm going to try to show you how they work, how the air compressor itself works, and show you on some photo paper how the different PSIs blow through the airbrushes. So the first thing you need to do is turn your machine on, and it cuts off immediately. It only turns on because it doesn't have an actual container to hold air to build up. So every time you turn it on, it is going to make every time you push your gun, it's going to turn on. So people were asking about how to change the PSI levels on the air compressor. So I've got this one set right now at 20 PSIs, and I'm going to show you how to maneuver that. So the first thing you have to do is you have this black knob here, and you have to pull it up until it clicks. And to change your PSI, you want to make sure while you're turning the knob that you are also pushing down on the trigger of your airbrush. So let's push down on the trigger, and then we're going to turn clockwise to the right to raise your PSI levels. So you turn it until you get to the PSI you want. I'm at about 40 PSIs right there. So with your trigger down, you push the knob back down until it clicks into place, and you are now set at around 40 PSIs. I'm sorry, I'm legally blind. I'm going to get my face down there. So it's at 40. This particular air compressor goes from 10 PSIs to 100 PSIs. I've never gone and used past probably 60 or 65 PSIs. So you've got your air PSI set at 40. To turn it back down, you're going to press on your trigger, you're going to raise your knob up, and you're going to turn it back to the left or counterclockwise. And that will bring it back down. As soon as you get to the PSI you want, you push your button back down, and you're back at 20 PSIs. So that's how that part works. And I want to also show you the little moisture trap here. It is really important to keep that dry at all costs, because if you don't, this one I purposely left moisture in it so I could show you. But if you don't do that and you end up with moisture in your hose, and therefore moisture will come out the end of your airbrush, and you will have lots of spittles on your alcohol ink artwork. So it's important to keep an eye on that and clean it out with a paper towel and alcohol to keep it dry. You should really never let your hose lean or lay in a loop like this off of your table, because in this bottom portion here will collect moisture, and eventually as you're spraying it will come out of your airbrush. So when you're not in use of it, you should really just lay it flat like this. Just wrap it around or however you want to, or undo it altogether from the air compressor itself. So that's how to keep the moisture out of your line. Now let's see if I can get this unwrapped, la-di-da, and show you how to take your moisture trap off and clean it. Okay, I'm gonna do something that I probably shouldn't do because I want you to be able to see it on the camera, and turn it sideways so you can actually see your compressor, because you don't want the moisture to go back up into your actual motor system and all that good stuff. So this guy here, everybody knows that it's righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, right? Well, this is the exact opposite. So if you want to tighten it, you're going to turn it counterclockwise, and if you're going to loosen it, you're going to turn it clockwise. So with it sitting on your table, just like this, you're going to turn it clockwise to loosen it. I'm gonna, oh, first, shoot, turn off your machine. Haha. Told you I wasn't an expert. Not perfect either. So anyways, it's going to unscrew, and it's going to look like this. You have this little filter system right here, and I have moisture in my cup, and I am just going to take a paper towel, and I'm going to put a little bit of alcohol in it. I use 91% alcohol. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to pour some. You don't need too much, but I'm going to dampen the paper towel a little bit, and I'm just going to go in, and I'm going to dry this out the best I can. The alcohol will dry it out pretty good. I'm going to wipe it down, wipe it down, wipe it down. I also want to show you, if you just have a little bit of moisture in the bottom, this little trigger right here, while it's setting this way, you can push on it and it will release some of the moisture out. It will just pour out the bottom of it. So you can do it that way if there's not too much in there, but I always dry it out really good. I take my alcohol and I wipe the bottom of this off, wipe around the lip of it where it screws on to get all the moisture out that I can get out. And on occasion, if I'm going to use it for several hours or so, I take a pretty small piece of paper towel. I don't leave it in there. I just set it down in the bottom of it, just like that. It can't, you don't want it to really touch your little filter thing down here, but then you put it back on just like this, which is lefty-tighty in this case, and you screw it back on. Just to, don't tighten it really hard because it makes it very difficult to get back off, but you want it to be sealed. And that's how you clean your moisture trap. So we're going to turn it back on. I'm going to set it to the side, and I'm going to try to show you the different PSIs, how they spray your ink. I'm going to be using these ink. They're Pinata inks, and I've put them in some little bottles, and I've diluted them pretty good with alcohol. There's probably, I filled this to about 3/4 of the way, and then I put like 5 drops of actual inks in. So we're just going to see the difference between the PSIs, how they blow. So I'm just going to set it to the side just a little bit. My gun out of the way, my hose out of the way. Get my turntable here. I love my Lazy Susans. They're great for doing alcohol inks. So you don't have to pick up your work. You can just rotate it. It's an awesome thing. So I'm going to turn this on, and I'm going to start out with 20 psi's. So I'm going to get myself down here to 20 psi's. I raise the knob and I turn it until it's at 20 and I push it back down and it's ready to go. So at 20 psi's, we're going to see the motion of, remember, it's diluted ink. So I'm just going to put some ink down and I'm going to show you how it blows at 20 psi's. So you have pretty good control over where your ink's going to flow with the 20 psi's. Okay, so that's at 20 psi's. I'm going to pull my trigger back up. I'm going to press my trigger on. I'm going to pull my button up and I'm going to press my trigger. And I'm going to go to 30 psi's. As soon as you get it on there, push your button back down and then we'll see the pressure that it gives you with 30 psi's. Just going to try to do, see, it blows a little bit quicker. So you really want to point your gun in the direction you want it to go. It goes, it's great. 30 psi's is great for drying your inks off quickly. So now I'm going to pull my trigger, pull my button back up, my knob. I'm going to press on my trigger and I'm going to turn it up to 40 psi's. I'm at 40 psi's and I'm pushing my trigger back down and it stays at 40 psi's. So let's see what other color inks we can throw on here. Let's put a little bit of orange on here. It blows much quicker. It's a heavier flow. And the heavier the flow, the stronger your psi's, the quicker your ink's going to dry out too, because it's a lot more air coming out. So put a generous amount on there and it dries pretty rapidly. So that's at 40 psi's. Let's see what kind of mess we're going to make on this picture. I'm going to try to do it pretty quick for you guys so I don't have a long video, but that's at 40 psi's. My orange is a lot more diluted than the other ones. Alright, so I'm going to go up to 50 psi's. So I'm pulling my knob up, pressing the trigger on my airbrush, and I'm turning my knob up. So I'm at 50 psi. You can tell it's blowing a lot stronger. So let's see what I'm going to try to do, maybe a blue leaf. The stronger the psi, the quicker your inks dry. You've got a lot more airflow. I should have mixed some green, but I didn't. Just wanted to show you the difference between them. It seems that the more people get interested in alcohol inks, the more they want to, you guys want to experiment with different ways of moving the air. So, there's at 50 psi's. I'm going to get a couple of things that I forgot to get. So, please pardon me. When people start out doing alcohol inks, they try to use just blowing with their mouth or blowing with a straw or using canned air. So you can blow with straws. You can do it with canned air. I myself am a airbrush kind of girl. I actually have 3 different compressors. I have 2.0s, and then I have a Delta that has a 3-pound tank on it, so I can use it without having the noise or all that good stuff. But anyways, that's at 50. I'm going to go back down to around 20 PSIs, 25 PSIs. So I'm going to pull my knob up. I'm going to turn this on, and I'm going to go back down at about 25. So I'm pushing my button down, so I'm at 25. I'm going to actually take a Ranger. This is turquoise, I believe, and I'm just going to put straight ink on for you to show you how that works, if I can get my ink open. So I'm just going to do the straight ink, and you can see the difference in the density of your colors. This is at 25 PSIs, and you have great control over the movement of the ink. With the straight ink. Just playing to show you how they work. Alright, so when you put the straight ink on, you can, after it dries, you can then just use straight alcohol, which would be good to have straight alcohol here. This is straight alcohol, and after your ink is dry, I'm going to show you what 25 PSIs does for that. Gives you a little bit of dilution. And you can just move the ink with alcohol. So this is the airbrush that actually has a pretty good size inkwell on it, and it has a cap that I can't seem to get off right now. There you go. And with your diluted inks, you can simply just pour straight in. I'm not going to pour too much in, but you want to make sure your cap's on. You can shake it a little bit, and your trigger here, if you push straight down, it's just going to blow the air. If you push straight down and back, it's going to actually give you the color in which you put in. And the further away you get, the bigger your spread is, and the closer you get, the smaller your lines are. So you can do all kinds of funky little lines. In your piece of artwork. Kind of cool. Once you use this, it is really important to clean it out. I'm going to get a little cup here. Sorry, my arm's in your way. But you just pour it out. You're going to put alcohol back in there. You're going to use some kind of brush. It doesn't matter. But you're just going to wipe it around in there. It's just important to clean it out. You're going to pour it out. You're going to put some more alcohol in there. Put your lid on there and shake it up a little bit. I just pushed the button, sorry. Clean it out with your brush. And then you're going to actually blow through. So you're going to push down and pull back. And I'm going to make a mess out of here because I didn't get my can. So they actually have bottles for that. See, you can make a mess out of yourself. But they have, this is called a cleaning pot. So, not to make a mess like I just did all over my hands. You're going to push down and pull back until all of your ink is out of there. And I'm going to set that back out of my way. You're going to take a paper towel and you can pour the rest of this out. I really shouldn't put that in a cup, should I? Blown it in a cup. You learn. Anyways, you're going to clean it out really good. And then you're ready to go with just the air again. So, there's that. I'm going to move that out of the way before I splatter it all over the place again. And see what I did? Lovely. I use hand sanitizer and a paper towel. To try to clean myself up a little bit. It cleans up really good. For the most part, I'm gonna not linger on that, but anyways, if you make a mess, it's probably a good thing to wear gloves. There's pretty good barometric pressure here today in North Carolina. It's gonna rain and my brain doesn't think as good as it ought to with that. But I wanted to show you the other air guns. This one I use when I like to add a little bit of ink and spray ink out. This one here I use, it's got a teeny small well on it and it doesn't have a cap. So this is the one that I use most of the time when I just want the air to flow. But it's good that way. And I have, since I have 3 compressors, they're all hooked up to different compressors. This one I like a lot because you can, if you turn your nozzle this way towards you, it will just blow air. If you turn it away from you, it will actually blow the color that you have in your jar. So you can add highlights. You can get pretty close. Now this is pretty diluted ink in here because I was playing with it the other day. So it's going to make a lacing effect because it has a lot of alcohol in it and it's coming through with a blast of air. So just turn it back the other way and you can dry it out. So my full purpose in this was to try to show you about how to actually operate the air compressor. Make sure when you use this one here, it takes a different hose. It's a really small hose, so you will not be able to go much above 30 psi because if you put too much pressure on it, your air will not flow through because it is a tiny hose. So there's that one. So I think that's all I can say about the air compressor. I hope that this video somewhat helps you. I'm going to lean this back over here for you real quick because I used it just a little bit and there's a tiny bit of condensation in there. So I haven't used it that much at all. So you have to kind of pay attention to that if you don't want the spittles moisture to come out on your artwork. I think that's my story. I think that's my story. And I'm going to stick to it. I hope that you guys, if you decide to take the leap to using the air compressor and the airbrushes, I really hope that you have a lot of fun with it. It's my favorite thing to use. I still try to use the other means on occasion. But you can see that this is at 20 psi's. And that's the That's the control you have over your colors. Now with the air can, it is a little bit more difficult to control because it comes out at one speed for the most part. You can try to work with it and just barely push the trigger and get just a little bit of air, if you can hear that. But it's just easier to control your air with the compressor. I've made a complete total mess out of this. Anyways, that's that. I'm gonna go back to my air gun. Anyways, I hope you guys have a blessed day, and I'm gonna say peace out to you. Enjoy your air compressors. Don't be nervous about them. Just pull them out and play with them. Get them to the PSI that you like the most, the one that you have the most control over, and enjoy yourself with them. You can maneuver them so much easier than the air gun. You can turn them any different ways you want to go. This one kind of looks a little funky, doesn't it? Alright, so anyways, I've said peace out, and I hope you have a great day. This is Pinata White Blanca that I have put into a small bottle and added a little bit of alcohol to, so it flows easier with the compressor. Anyways, have a great day, guys.